Hey, good morning. This is Doug here, realtor here in Utah. We have been looking at the blog that's linked below about buying a home here in 2023, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. So today, I want to talk about one of the questions that we get asked a lot, um, and, and I and that is, you know, what kind of work can I do in the house? So, can I get a house that needs painted, needs carpet, and those types of things, and get a better deal on it? Um, right up to the whole, I'm looking to flip a house. So let's start with flipping a house. What does flipping a house mean? Well, flipping a house typically means that you're going to get, let's just use real numbers. So let's say it's a $400,000 house. Flippers typically want to try to buy the house about 200,000. They're going to put 50,000 or so in cash back into the house, and then turn around and try to sell it for 400,000. So that's what flipping means. There are flip and holds where people go in, do the same thing, find it price wise, but then they hold it as an asset and rent it. And so they'll be, a landlord at that point. So as we move through and look at things like that, the biggest criteria a lot of times with that is how you're going to finance it. Most of the flippers today and are people that have cash, and so they will go in and look at a house and say, okay, well, we can make this all work, put some money into it, and then do that. Some people are going to go in and do that. I've got a house in Helper that they're going to go in, and it looks like they're going to go in and spruce it up a little bit and then rent it. So that all works great. But from a financing side of things, well, typically those guys come in with, that flip houses come in with cash. And so they're just going to pay cash. They're not really worried about an appraisal, and they're usually going to try to do it fairly quickly. And so they try to get it done and off the books, and they want to do things fast. So as you look at it, so if you're a normal, I shouldn't say normal. If you're a buyer, first time home buyer, if you're looking at buying another home, selling yours, and looking at stuff like that, a lot of the criteria falls into the financing and how you finance. So typically, if you're running through cash, there's not a whole lot of restrictions there. But when you get into like FHA, the USDA rural loan, and some of those, they require that the house be livable, and their definitions of livable are very interesting. I had one house that we had for sale there in Payson, and the people came in with a rural loan, a USDA loan, and one of the criteria was that the back deck needed to be painted. It needed to have paint on it, and the back door casing. And so they had the people selling the house didn't quite know how to do that and stuff. So we helped them with the paint, but we got the door casings painted on the outside. We got the deck painted, so then that way everything was good. They a lot of times that you'll see people do inspections, and those inspections will play into some of this as well. But one of the maybe so with that, from a financing standpoint, with an FHA loan and things, there are things we need to look at. You need to have handrails. You need to have the paint on the doors and the windows. All your wood needs to be covered and sealed. I had a house that we were selling, had a guy come in with a VA loan, and they had a wood shed that they had built in the backyard, and the VA people wanted that shed painted. So in the middle of January, the seller's out running paint on this wood shed so that he could sell the house. Seemed a little bit ridiculous, but you got to do what you got to do to sell your house. But knowing those types of things, if you're selling your house, knowing that you need to make sure that you've got paint on those door frames and the wood and your window casings and those types of things, it's always easier to sell your house. But it's also one of those things that you want to look at when you're buying. What does it look like? One of the just a quick story. I helped a guy that was flipping a house. And one of the hardest things for me, number one, I'm allergic to cats. And so usually I can step into a house and within a couple of minutes tell you just from my body's reaction whether there's been cats in the house. So we went with this gentleman to look at this house. We walked in the house and there was dog feces, cat feces, mice, furniture just tipped over. The house was just an absolute disaster. And to me, the thing that really just pulled at my heart was we go into one of the back bedrooms, and in the middle of all this mess is a little girl's black patent shoe. And I start looking around saying, how can somebody, have a little girl or raise a little girl in something like this? And to me, that was hard. Hard to look at and hard to try to put my head around. Now, that thought process quickly subsided as I realized that I had fleas crawling up my pants and up my socks and up my legs. And so we quickly left the house, and I screamed home as fast as I could to get everything in the washer and showered and get the fleas off and everything. But so those are the types of risks that you take. But typically, again, going back, when you have a house that needs work, to people financing it, need it to be livable. And so those types of things are going to be there. So as you look at them, that's what you do. So I've helped people flip houses. I've found houses that need a little bit of work, and we've done some workarounds that way. So anyway, give me a call here in Utah. Let's get you into a house.